Year-to-date return through the end of August, correct?
Yeah, that's the most recent month end. Yeah.
15.0%.
15% even. That's a great
Can't argue
double-digit
with those numbers.
So what we did was we wanted to build a dividend strategy that, obviously had the highest yield, but we want to make sure we're picking companies that the dividend is going to remain or increase.
I want to ask the question, what's your dividend yield on those 12 stocks?
That's what I was getting to, yeah. We're at 6.2%.
What does the 6.2 compare with on the TSX dividend yield?
Good question. So the current TSX index pays 2.92% dividend yield. So we're more than double that.
Well, welcome back to this month's Tower Talks. We've got some interesting stuff to talk about. We're going to take a look at real estate investing versus the market, because Tarek is thinking that too many people are choosing not to go into the stock market. And he wanted to make a case for us being the first choice. No, I'm kidding. But we were wondering what was better, real estate or the stock market. And Tarek wanted to dive on that. The other thing we want to look at is a new dividend strategy that we've put together and is now in place. We can tell you what that is about. Let me go to the first thing on the item on the list, and that is how have we done year to date? Momentum. Year to date return through the end of August, correct?
Yeah, that's the most recent month end. Yeah.
15.0%.
15% even. That's a great
Can't argue with those numbers.
Absolutely.
Like real estate will be embarrassed when we start talking about them. Okay, and then in our enhanced index, in my portfolio, we've got the 80-20 mix, 80% equities, 20% fixed income. The year-to-date return there is 10.2%. Now, those numbers compare with the TSX of 11% and the bond market of 0. Sort of the dividends have offset the loss in prices. So because that strategy is a blend of fixed income and equities, getting the equity market return out of it is a little bit difficult, but it's got a little more diversification to it. It's hugely diversified, to be honest. Like, it's a very diversified strategy. So,
and we're happy with those returns.
Yeah, we don't have to apologize for those numbers, but if you're looking for the numbers that we might brag about and forget about all the rest, we would tell you about momentum. 15% year to date. Okay, Tarek, what are we doing on dividends?
I just want to make sure I say one thing so that John, our compliance guy, doesn't get grumpy with us. TSX at 11.4 this year.
11.4.
At 11, just in case, our compliance guy. All right, let's get to the dividend strategy.
I think Tarek just told me off. Here we go.
Just keeping John happy. Okay, if you're a Canadian and you're investing in Canada, you know that we have a lot of big dividend payers in Canada. It's a lot of banks, utilities. Everybody talks about the dividend payers. So what we did was we wanted to build a dividend strategy that obviously had the highest yield, but we want to make sure we're picking companies that the dividend is going to remain or increase, and that they have the ability to maintain that dividend for an extended period of time, which is really two sides of the same question. So we built sort of a screen or an algorithm where we look at a set of companies, we make sure we're sorting for larger companies, just to make sure they're a little bit more stable, a little more well-established. We make sure we pick companies with higher yields, adjusting for special dividends, because special dividends are dividends that are declared as a one-off basis and that are not necessarily going to be paid in the future. So you want to make sure you cut those out and don't give any credit for that, because it's unexpected and can't be counted on. And then, taking a look at the company's numbers to try and determine, okay, is this current dividend sustainable or will it increase? A lot of people like to look at historical dividend increases and seeing if they'll go up and so on and so forth. But that's what we do.
But now, it's the dividend payout ratio that's one of the big drivers.
It is.
And also their balance sheet. Okay, so how many stocks did you put in there?
We only have 12 in there. It's very concentrated, or as they say in the industry, it's high conviction strategy.
Oh, I like that. I haven't heard that line before. Okay, and your universe is the TSX 60 or TSX 300?
It's the TSX 300, but we do sort to keep out some of the smaller names. We do.
And I think I noticed the smallest market cap in there is about 6 billion market cap company. So they're large companies.
They are large companies, absolutely.
Okay.
And like I said, we're looking at the balance sheet ratios and the cash flow statement ratios to determine, is this company going to be able to continue to pay this dividend going forward? And I'm happy
Okay.
to say before sorry, you want to say something?
Yeah. I want to ask the question, what's your dividend yield on those 12
Exactly. That's what
stocks?
I was getting to. Yeah. We're at 6.2%. So Mark was generous enough to invest some in his account so that we have a basis to record. At Tower, you'll never see us putting you in a strategy that we won't invest in ourselves, and
Mhm.
invested at 6.2. This isn't a number on a
Okay.
model.
So,
It's the
so, and
actual.
I would say it wasn't a small amount. It was a meaningful amount within our portfolio. But let me just go to the one other question. What does the 6.2 compare with on the TSX dividend yield?
Good question. So the current TSX index pays 2.92% dividend yield. So we're
Okay.
more than double that. Even high
Hmm.
dividend ETFs, BlackRock and Vanguard would have some. I think they max out at 4.5% to 5% maybe. And so we're
Right.
well above those the high dividend ETFs. And we those dividend ETFs just follow an index that has some rules that they follow. And I guess we have rules. We definitely have rules on how we do that, but we have the flexibility to say we're going to review in 6 months and say, is this a company we need anymore? Take it out. If it's in their index, though, they have to keep it in. They cannot change the set of companies they invest in unless the index changes. But we
So
control.
let me read you some of the names, just so you
Okay.
know that in the mix of names there is Bank of Montreal, Bank of Nova Scotia, BCE, Brookfield, and so on. 12
Yeah, names
names.
you're probably familiar with if
You'd
you live
largely
in Canada.
recognize them.
Yeah.
Okay, one last question. What are you going to do with this strategy?
Well, with this strategy, we want to, there's a number of clients who we already have who
Mhm.
I will be reaching out to directly to say, hey, this is probably a good fit for you based on your current net worth, stage of life, and needs. But if you're listening to this and you think, I would like this strategy for my portfolio, you could reach out to us as well. It is a new strategy. We're confident in it. We're not overly concerned about it blowing up or anything like that, but it is a new strategy and we don't have the historical performance to show you.
Time out. We've talked for 6 minutes on this. Okay, we're going to take a break on this. We're going to do a second video, and we're just going to carry right on right now on real estate. So at this point, there's a break. Video number 2. Here we go.